All right, guys, so after my curveball video the other day of talking about that new spike curveball grip, I've been getting a lot of requests to do a slider grip video. So I will say, I used to be a guy, I've been a lot of different types of guys and had thrown a lot of different types of pitches and have used a lot of different types of grips on those particular types of pitches. But as of right now, and I will say I want to talk about this slider grip, the one I'm using right now, because it's probably the best slider that I've had over the course of my entire decade in professional baseball. So what I did was I used to be, as a starter, I used to be a cutter and slider slurve type of guy. And then when I was going to winter ball this past winter, obviously, I was going to be a bullpen guy. Majority 1 inning, maybe 2 inning max guy. So there wasn't really a need for me to have a fastball, cutter, slider, curveball, and splitter, right? So I was like, all right, well, I'm just going to blend my cutter and slider at the time together, which was hard for me because I loved my cutter. I love it. I'll go back to it eventually, but for now, I blended the two. Whereas before, my slider slurve type thing was right around 78 to 81. My cutter was 88 to 91. Blended those two and got this 84 to maybe 86, 87 slider. And what I did was, if you looked at like this horseshoe, this is going to be a low seam, because the low seam here, you're gripping your dominant finger there. So low seam fastball here. And what I would do is I'd take the low seam fastball and I'd tilt it just a little bit. And I wanted to put my crevices, not my crevices, but the tips of my fingers, like my most powerful point of those fingertips, I wanted to put those in the seam on my cutter. What this allowed me to do was keep it super simple as I came through to throw it. Everything fastball, and just had a little bit of energy to the side of the baseball, everything fastball, and then boom, at ball release, the axis was tilted, and I was able to throw it as hard as I can, and I wasn't manipulating it by my wrist. I was coming through, and just having those fingers in that seam allowed me to just feel pulling down on that seam, which already created a tilted axis, right? Whereas my other slider, my other slider that I was throwing, like more of a slurve as a starter, was back here, and it was really deep, and I would kind of play around with the thumb placement, maybe hook it around this guy back here, and it was really slurvy, okay? Now, what I did was I took those two grips, and I put them in the middle, right? So what I have now is I play around with closed fingers or a slightly open, just to get a little bit of more evenly distributed in the center of the baseball. And then I can still play around with the thumb placement if I want to go deeper. If I want more depth on the pitch, I'll tuck the thumb more. If I want, more east to west, I'll put my thumb, where that cutter I used to throw. This crow is killing me right now. Focus. And this pitch in particular, like I said, I'm still hooking the seam. Instead of being in the seam now with these two fingers, I'm pulling the seam. So I'm pulling the seam with both those fingers, and like I said, I'm playing around with the thumb placement depending on, I have a pretty good feel, obviously, because I've thrown a cutter and a slider. I have a pretty good feel of what I want it to do, if I want more depth, if I want, more ball to strike or strike to ball. It's going to vary depending on my thumb placement, and I'm trying to throw the crap out of this thing, and I'm trying to think about what allows me to keep it tight. And for me, it's just pulling on the seam, coming through, just pulling on the seam. And a big thing that helps me is not thinking about slider the whole entire time I'm going to throw it. I have to think fastball, get extension fastball, and then as soon as I feel like coming through ball release, I'm a big feel guy, I can feel my fingers on positioned on that seam accordingly to pull it down, and that helps me gain extension, late launch, and really getting out front with that slider. A lot of times when I'm ahead in the count, or maybe a 0-2, 1-2 after maybe a guy took a slider in the dirt, I'm like, all right, well, I'm going to make this one nastier. What'll start to happen is I think slider early, and then the way that my body kind of wraps around the ball comes out like a cement mixer, and that's not not by any means what I want. Okay, so that's some things that help me with my slider. Obviously, there's a whole nother aspect to it as far as like the data analytics are concerned. I'm shooting for like a 945 to 1015 tilt spin direction. I'm looking at 30 to 40% spin efficiency. There's a whole slew of metrics that I can kind of shoot for and helps, when I'm using like the pitch logic, Diamond Kinetics, or a Rapsodo. And if you're watching this video on YouTube, check out the description below to get discounts on those products. All right, guys. Hope you enjoyed. If you did, hit the thumbs up. Hit the subscribe button to win some free... What am I giving away next? I don't even know when this video is going to air. But hit the subscribe button if you want to win free stuff. Maybe I'll give away this glove. Want to do that? All right, guys. Much love. God bless.